Here to lend us some of his medical expertise is former White House doctor Ronny Jackson, who's currently running as a Republican for the Texas 13th Congressional District. Doctor, when we talk about the latest developments regarding not only the George Floyd protest, but how it matches with coronavirus, these two things are being combined with a lot of people wondering if this will cause a surge as a second wave or even in the next 2 weeks, acknowledging the fact that a lot of these people are congregating together. Do you share those concerns?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't know what's going to happen here. Obviously, I think this is going to be give us a lot of information here about what the reality of opening up is really going to do. I mean, I think it's going to expedite things. It's going to give us some information on, I mean, it's going to tell us one way or the other. It's going to be a big indicator for us. So, yeah, we could have some outbreaks, or we could find out that despite the fact that people have been clustered together in these outbreaks, that we're not going to have, outbreak in these clustered together in these groups. We're not going to have the outbreak of the virus. So what that would tell me is that we may be able to get things back to normal sooner than we thought. But I think this is going to be a big indicator. It's going to tell us where we're headed with this.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And I also want to get your political opinion on this, too, because you are running for Congress as well. And you're also in the state of Texas, which has seen a little bit of a different approach than maybe, for example, in New York City when it comes to the lockdown orders. That's something that a lot of people are kind of drawing distinctions between, how police are essentially taking a very lax approach to the current demonstrations that we're seeing right now. But then when it comes to the lockdown orders, they've been very much so strict, arresting moms in parks, for example, for being out in public parks, making sure that people don't go to church. Is there a difference in the way that the police are handling these two situations?
Well, I think that this has uncovered, in my opinion, some hypocrisy of some of the leaders in our local and state government on their approach to social distancing and things of that nature related to this virus. I mean, there are a lot of folks out there, Governor Cuomo, people like him, that have been out there for weeks preaching about, you don't have the right to go out and to expose family members and elderly and people like that to this virus by protesting when people were wanting to protest the lockdown. Yet now a lot of these same folks are actually, they're not condoning the violence associated with this, but they're supporting the protesters' right to get out there and protest. And I just think you have to pick a side. And I think that there has been some hypocrisy that's been unveiled here in all of this. But I think that this is not about Mr. Floyd anymore, unfortunately. I mean, to see that video is absolutely disgusting. I think we're all just repulsed by that video. And I won't even call the gentleman involved in it a police officer, because I think he was just a psychopath who happened to have a badge. And, I hope he's convicted. I hope he goes to jail. And I support anybody's right to peacefully protest. But, to be honest, this has evolved beyond a protest on behalf of Mr. Floyd. And it's just evolved into an excuse for people that want to go out and steal, loot, and anarchists like Antifa to go out and just destroy things. It's given them an excuse to do this, and we have to stop it.
And you bring up that officer, too, and I think you bring up an interesting point, and it's the idea that in the past, whenever I've seen a situation like this, it is a little bit more divisive than this time around, I would say. For example, I don't see the same people rushing to the defense of this officer the same way that I have in prior situations, whether it be Ferguson, what happened in Baltimore, things like that. I'm not seeing the same type of defense of this officer than maybe I would have seen in the past. Do you think that these lockdown orders had any maybe effect on the way that people view police, or do you think that this is just one of those instances where it's so egregious that everybody's basically on the same page?
I think it's just so egregious. You can't watch that video and not be on the same page, in defense of, Mr. Floyd and what happened. There's just no excuse to do that. When I saw that video and I saw he had his knee on his neck, and then he lost consciousness, and then he just kept his knee there for minutes and minutes, for like 3 additional minutes. I mean, at that point, you have to stop what you're doing. You have to assess the in this case, the patient, and figure out what's going on. So, yeah, I think this is a different situation that could have brought everybody on both sides together. But because of the nature of these violent protests, it's not.
No, and in fact, just right now, we're having some breaking news coming in that the family did an independent autopsy that found that George Floyd died of asphyxia due to neck and back compression. So that contradicts the findings, actually, that was originally made by the city when they first released their own report, saying that it wasn't asphyxia. So I think that is something, too, where maybe there's a little bit of a divide between officials in Minneapolis. And we've seen different information come out there that's proven to be inaccurate. So I think a lot of people, too, are not only questioning what we're talking talking about regarding this police officer, but also the response, not only to the protests, but this autopsy as well. But Admiral Ronny Jackson, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.